Welcome back to episodes of Kynn. In today's episode, we're going to talk about 5 habits slowly killing your IQ. Habits so ordinary, you probably don't even notice you're doing them anymore. This audio recording includes subtitles, so you can follow along more intentionally and absorb the ideas at your own pace. Intelligence isn't something you lose all at once. Nobody wakes up one day noticeably slower than they were the year before. It happens quietly, one habit at a time, until you find yourself struggling to focus on a single paragraph, forgetting things you would have remembered easily a few years ago, feeling foggy in conversations that used to come naturally. And the unsettling part is that most of what's causing this isn't some rare neurological decline. It's a handful of completely normal, socially acceptable habits that are treated as harmless or even necessary in modern life. So let's go through 5 of them. Why each one quietly erodes the way your mind works, and what to do instead, because once you see these clearly, you can't really unsee them. The first habit is constant task switching, the endless jumping between your phone, a conversation, a piece of work, another tab, another notification, all within the space of a few minutes. It feels productive, it feels like you're doing more, but your brain doesn't actually multitask the way you think it does. What it's really doing is rapidly switching attention back and forth, and every single switch comes with a cost, a small tax paid in the form of lost focus, lost depth, and lost working memory. Over time, this constant switching trains your brain to expect novelty every few seconds, and it becomes harder and harder to sustain attention on anything that doesn't offer instant stimulation. This is why so many people can watch a 2-hour movie without checking their phone once, and yet can't read 3 pages of a book without their mind wandering. It's not that the book is boring, it's that your attention span has been quietly reshaped by years of constant switching and thinking deeply. The kind of thinking that actually builds intelligence requires sustained, uninterrupted focus that this habit slowly trains out of you. The second habit is passive content consumption, scrolling through short videos, memes, and bite-sized information for hours, without engaging your mind in any real way. This kind of consumption feels like mental activity, because your eyes are moving and your brain is technically processing something, but it's almost entirely passive. You're not predicting outcomes, forming opinions, connecting ideas, or holding information in your head long enough to actually use it. It's the cognitive equivalent of sitting perfectly still while telling yourself you're exercising. And because this content is designed to be easy and immediately rewarding, your brain starts preferring it over anything that requires actual effort, which means the muscles involved in sustained thinking, patience, synthesis, and genuine problem-solving get less and less exercise the more time you spend here. Intelligence isn't just about what you know, it's about your capacity to think through something difficult without immediately reaching for an easier distraction. And this habit quietly erodes exactly that capacity. The third habit is avoiding anything that makes you feel confused or incompetent. Nobody enjoys the feeling of not understanding something, so it's natural to gravitate toward what you're already good at and avoid what makes you feel slow or lost. But your brain grows specifically in response to difficulty, not comfort. The discomfort of not understanding something is actually the exact condition your mind needs in order to build new connections. And if you consistently avoid that discomfort, you're avoiding the only situation that actually builds cognitive capacity. Over time, avoiding confusion becomes a habit so automatic you don't even notice you're doing it. You stop asking questions you're afraid might sound stupid. You stop reading things slightly above your usual level. You stick to topics, conversations, and tasks that confirm what you already know instead of stretching what you're capable of. And a mind that's rarely challenged doesn't stay sharp. It slowly settles into whatever level it was operating at the last time it was actually pushed. The fourth habit is chronic sleep deprivation, treated so casually in modern life that most people don't even register it as a cognitive issue. But sleep isn't just rest. It's when your brain physically clears out metabolic waste that builds up during waking hours, consolidates memories, and strengthens the connections formed by everything you learned that day. Cut that process short consistently, and you're not just tired. You're accumulating a kind of cognitive debt night after night that shows up as slower thinking, weaker memory, and a noticeably reduced ability to solve problems that would normally feel simple. The frightening part is how normalized this has become. People treat 5 or 6 hours of sleep as a badge of discipline or productivity, without realizing that the very intelligence they're trying to leverage during those extra waking hours is being quietly degraded by the sleep they're sacrificing to get them. The fifth habit is surrounding yourself almost exclusively with agreement, opinions, people, and information that simply confirm what you already believe. This one is subtle because it doesn't feel like a cognitive habit at all. It feels like comfort, like community, like being right. But intelligence isn't just raw processing power. It's your ability to update your thinking when new information contradicts what you assumed. And that ability atrophies fast when it's never actually used. If every article you read, every person you talk to, and every piece of content you consume simply reflects your existing views back at you, your mind never has to do the work of reconciling contradiction, weighing nuance, or reconsidering a position. You start mistaking familiarity for correctness, and the less your beliefs get challenged, the more brittle and less flexible your actual thinking becomes, even if you feel more confident than ever. Here's what ties all 5 of these together, and why they're so easy to fall into without noticing. Every single one of them replaces effortful thinking with something easier: task switching over sustained focus, passive scrolling over active engagement, comfort over confusion, screen time over sleep, agreement over friction. None of these choices feel like a decline in the moment. Each one feels convenient, even reasonable, which is exactly why they're so dangerous. Nobody consciously decides to become less sharp. They simply keep choosing the easier option, again and again, until the harder option starts to feel genuinely difficult, in a way it never used to. And there's a deeper reason this matters, beyond just performance or productivity. The way you use your mind shapes the mind you have access to later. Cognitive ability isn't a fixed asset sitting untouched in a vault, waiting for you whenever you decide to use it. It's closer to a muscle that responds directly to how it's used, day after day, in ways so small you don't notice them individually. Skip the friction consistently enough, and the friction becomes harder to tolerate. Choose comfort over difficulty long enough, and difficulty starts to feel like a threat instead of a normal part of thinking. This is why some people seem to get noticeably sharper with age, while others seem to get noticeably duller, despite having the exact same starting point. The difference usually isn't genetics, it's which of these 5 habits they let run unexamined for years. So what does the alternative actually look like? Not some extreme, disciplined regimen that requires overhauling your entire life overnight, but a handful of small, deliberate shifts, repeated consistently. Instead of constant task switching, you build blocks of single-focus time, even short ones, where your phone is out of reach and your attention stays on one thing until it's actually done. Instead of defaulting to passive content in every idle moment, you replace some of it with something that requires you to think, read, write, or actually problem solve, even for 10 or 15 minutes at a time. Instead of avoiding confusion, you deliberately seek out material slightly above your comfort level, a slightly harder book, a topic you don't fully understand yet, a conversation with someone who thinks differently than you do, and you let the discomfort of not immediately getting it be the point, not the problem. Instead of treating sleep as negotiable, you protect it like the cognitive maintenance it actually is, understanding that the hours you save by cutting sleep short are paid back with interest in the form of slower, foggier thinking the next day. And instead of surrounding yourself only with agreement, you deliberately expose yourself to well-reasoned perspectives that challenge your existing views, not to abandon your beliefs, but to keep the muscle of reconsidering them strong. None of these changes are dramatic on their own. That's exactly the point. The habits that erode your intelligence accumulate slowly, in small, repeated choices, and the habits that protect it work the same way, in small, repeated choices moving in the opposite direction. You don't need to overhaul your entire life this week. You just need to notice, honestly, which of these 5 habits you've let run unexamined. Because the moment you notice them, you already have the ability to choose differently the next time they show up. So if you've been feeling foggier than you used to, less able to focus, less patient with difficulty, less sharp in conversations that used to feel easy, this is where you start looking. Not at your intelligence as some fixed trait that's simply declining on its own, but at the small, repeated habits quietly shaping it every single day. Because the mind you have next year isn't decided by one big decision. It's decided by which of these small choices you keep making, one ordinary day at a time. If any part of this resonated with you, if you recognized one or more of these habits in your own life, leave a comment and let me know which one hit hardest. Chances are you're not the only one who feels this way, and sometimes naming the pattern is the first real step to breaking it. Thanks for listening to episodes of Kynn. Take care of your mind, and I'll see you in the next episode.